My name's Blay Whitby. I'm an AI ethicist, but more to the point, I was a very good friend of Maggie Boden. And people have hinted at it in their talks so far, but I have to say that she was a very good friend to her friends. So right from meeting her 1979, as a postgrad philosopher coming to Sussex, through to our film afternoons in the care home where she ended her days, she was always a very good friend to me. And maybe like so many other people in this room, but especially she completely inspired my choice of career. Right? By 1980, I'd seen that the ethics of AI were a substantive, meaty, real-world problem area that a young philosopher could get into and apply some philosophical expertise. Although I have to say that I was at least 40 years too soon. If I was looking for a job in AI ethics now, well, I know because my inbox is swamped with such jobs. But in the 1980s, I got serious pushback. I actually wrote a textbook on the ethics of AI in 1988, 40 years too soon. And I got quite a lot of hostility. And Maggie was alongside me at every point, reassuring me, saying things like, you would not be the first philosopher to speak out many years too soon. Don't be miserable about it, crack on. And sort of taking that friendship, I feel very close to Maggie still. And at her funeral, I knew the talk she would want me to give today. So I'm sorry that it's not reminiscence. It's quite the reverse, right? It's something that I think Maggie would want you to hear. And it's very much of the spirit of, it's not all over. There's a lot more still to do. So stop looking at the past, stop feeling sorry, and get on and deal with some, what I think are really crucial issues. And I'd like to riff off something Mike Sharples said, I don't know if he's still here, about care. Care for humans, care for users, Yvonne, is sadly lacking in the current world of AI. And I, for one, as an AI ethicist, am prepared to name the elephant in the room. The reason for that is quite simple. Most modern AI is designed by, working for, and wholly owned by people who don't much care. It's not their first priority. Money is their first priority, and it shows. But this is what I... Please don't sue me, but I think someone has to say this, and I'm sure Maggie would say it, and I can feel Maggie backing me up in this. Okay, a long time ago, 1997, Robert Pepperell, in a book called The Post-Human Condition, said, here we go, Boden and Whitby speak from an outmoded humanist perspective, right? Outmoded humanist. I reported this to Maggie because I read this book and she didn't. I don't recommend that you read it, but I've read it so you don't have to. There is a post-human manifesto occupying about 10 pages at the end of it, which I've found very useful over the years. So I reported this comment to Maggie and she said, guilty as charged. So I think we can take that as Maggie's attitude on this. But that's just one offhand comment. Since then, there's been a serious piece of work, well-funded, it's got EU funding, this work, by Michael Scholschi, attacking a publication which has both my and Maggie's name on it, and also Joanna Bryson, who's here today, is another co-author of the EPSRC Principles of Robotics, right? Right. And they say we failed. We did a lot of work, actually. I would not like to say we just had a junket at the expense of the EPRC, where we did a lot of work, and I'll maybe say a little how the work went. We didn't begin with an adequate understanding of what it means to be human, right? I'm afraid I disagree. I think we understood what it was to be human perfectly well. Notice the same insult is coming out here. Instead of outmoded, this time it's outdated. The false, outdated assumptions of humanism. The humans that we were trying to speak for didn't exist and are not shortly going to be made obsolete by human-machine hybrids. So quite a common view in this area. And Ernest has already given me a little clue in his talk as to what Maggie would have thought of this, right? When she said, can we exclude French philosophers, right? Her contempt for postmodernist trend in philosophy was loud, and I can still hear it in my ear. And again, I don't think she'd think much of the post-humanists telling us we're out of date. And one of the things that Chelsea says we should do in this paper, or we should have done, is to begin our principles with a preamble defining what a human being is. And I'm going to look at Joanna here, who was there, and say, pragmatically, that's laughable, because on our first evening as we assembled, we were harangued. I can't use any other word. We were harangued by a tall, elegant woman, a BBC science presenter called Vivienne Parry, who said, you're not here to produce academic waffle. You are here to produce a set of simple principles, Asimov's 3 laws for the 21st century, that are readable by, well, she said the Sun, but readable by the people who purchase the British tabloid press. And I put it to you that if we'd started our principles with, we consider the following entities to be human, that would have alienated the British tabloid press. So realistically, that wasn't going to happen. But here's the reference, connection science, right? A new, more flexible conception of what it is to be human. And I know Maggie, I know that Maggie would want me to say this, and I'm sorry I'm giving you substantive philosophy just before lunch, right? But I don't agree, right? I really don't agree. Okay. I don't think we need a more flexible definition of what it is to be human. In fact, I see some very ethically dubious trends in going in that direction. Oh, and those of you who've been keeping up to date with Vatican publications, and I hope that's at least some of you, will have read, because I will have read in Pope Leo XIV's latest encyclical that the current Pope has come to the same conclusions as me and Maggie, right? He may have been told in some supernatural way. Maggie and I did it in a purely logical fashion. We are secular. Well, I'm speaking for Maggie. I'm a secular ethicist, and I think this is wrong. The fact that the Pope agrees with me is interesting. You can discuss that over lunch too. So I want to claim humanism is not outdated. And I can feel Maggie's hand on my shoulder here. She would want me to say, humanism is not outdated. And in the age of machines, someone must speak up for human values. That's more or less what the Pope says. Someone must speak up for human values. Now, there's a nasty technique of argument that's quite common in the postmodern area, but I found it in other areas too. It's a variation on argumentum ad hominem, but instead of saying Whitby's an idiot, what you do is you apply a label, a technical philosophical label. It's argumentum ad classis, right? So it goes, you're a humanist. Descartes was a humanist. I've got an argument against Descartes, therefore I've got an argument against you, right? Can you see how that's a deviant style of argument? Happens all the time. You know, just pick your label. Compatibilist, anti-realist, right? And it's one of the reasons I don't like technical terms in philosophy. I remember quite vividly at an ASB symposium, probably you were there, a few years back, where we'd been treated to a number of talks of a highly inactive persuasion, right? There's a lot about embodied AI and stuff like that. And Maggie stood up and made an interjection. She said, "I'm sick of hearing how we cognitivists haven't changed our views since Descartes. It's not true," right? And in the spirit of Maggie, I'm going to say, I'm sick of hearing how we humanists haven't changed our views since Descartes. That's not true. And to forestall that type of argument, I'm going to grant the post-humanists a whole load of things. So they don't use argumentum ad classis. You're a humanist, so therefore you believe all this. Right. Human beings are individual and various. You'll remember in the famous, he's a naughty boy scene from Life of Brian, you can all chant, "We are all individuals," right? Bobby Ball is not Shania Twain, right? I'm not homogenizing humanity. I can accept that everyone's individuals. I don't believe in separation from the natural world. We are part of a big ecosystem. We've evolved out of it and all life is one. We're dependent on it, right? And I don't believe in human exceptionalism. Humans don't have any special rights compared to the rest of the natural system. I'll also accept that we've always had an intimate relationship with technology. Hell, I'm an AI ethicist. And notice when we describe our own history, we just talk about it in terms of technology. The Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, right? Of course, we got an intimate relationship with our technology. Nor do I force, I'm not even opposed to bio-machine hybrids of all sorts. And I accept they're coming. The direct brain interface, Neuralink in proprietary terms, seems doable to me. I'm not a neuroscientist, but I can accept all this is coming. And there will be a greater and progressive merging of humans with their technology. So I'll grant all that to the post-humanists. But what I won't grant is that you therefore put humanism in the dustbin, right? In particular, I don't think enhanced humans have more moral worth than any other human. When I reflect on the post-human books, and maybe there are some Nietzsche scholars in the room, when I think, where have I heard all this before? I'm always reminded of Also sprach Zarathustra and how the Übermensch is going to save the last man from nihilism, from his post-religious nihilism. I honestly feel that's an undertone in this. And I didn't like it when I heard it from Nietzsche, and I don't like it when I hear it from the post-humanists. It doesn't seem right to me. If you turn up in my Zoom meeting alongside your AI avatar, as the kids do these days, you don't get 2 votes, right? You don't count as 2 people. You don't even count as 1.5 people. As far as I'm concerned, you count as just one person. And again, your connection, your direct brain interface to the pseudo-wisdom of the web, right, might give you alarming cognitive powers, being instantly able to access things. But even so, you don't count as 2 people. You don't get more moral worth for all that extra cognition, right? In fact, I'd be thinking that extra power gives you more moral responsibility. Let's look to the greater responsibility that comes with power. I know I'm a lone voice. Hell, I'm not worried about being a lone voice, right? As I say, in 1984, reference coming up, I published a paper titled AI, Some Immediate Dangers. Got that word? Immediate, in 1984. Two dangers, I only spotted two back in 1984. One was that AI was a very powerful technology, and we should therefore guard against it falling into the hands of an elite. And I have to admit that in 1984, I didn't realize just how small that elite would be. And I'm afraid if you ask my views on it in 2026, I'd say, what part of the words too late don't you understand? You know, perhaps you could have listened in 84. And the other part of the danger, the other danger I spotted was that people would be required to behave more and more like machines. Jobs would be routinized. We've heard some of it about higher education, about performance tables and charts, basically making people behave more like computers. So it doesn't surprise me that 40% of workers are at danger of having their job replaced by a chatbot, because we already made that social change. We already turned people into chatbots and told them to turn off their creativity or their artificial stupidity. We already made that change. Yes, and so on any panel of experts drawing up a code of conduct that I'm a member of, no, a biomachine hybrid will not get more rights than a human being. Someone has to speak out for the humans. By all means, disagree. People have disagreed with me all my life. In fact, if it wasn't for Maggie's encouragement, I might many times have given up. But there's at least 5 kind references to me in the Minder's Machine book. Nice to have someone believe in you. And look at, yeah, if you want to push back at me, you can. Right? I think it's, Pope Leo might use a stronger word, but I think it's a serious moral mistake to say that machine-human hybrids are morally more deserving than humans. By all means disagree, but I want to push back against it. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Blay. Ahead of your time.
Yes, but the work goes on. Please, yes, carry on the work. Maggie wouldn't want us to sit here saying, "Oh, wasn't it great when Maggie was around?" She'd want us to keep doing the work.
Can I just say something? Oh, I was going to say that the Digital Markets Act is specifically about reducing data. And through the Digital Markets Act of the European Union, it's explicitly about handling this elite problem. I think we're going to need a bigger vote than the EU even to do it. But I think it's doable, and we're working on it on the UN level. But I really encourage anyone who wants to. There's a Digital Markets Act meeting in November. I think the abstract all is up right now. But if you don't already do the law stuff, come to the meeting and start realizing how it goes. Yes, sorry.
Great. Thank you. John.
I just wanted to say, Blay and Joanna both participants in the meeting that tomorrow, there's a meeting happening tomorrow and Thursday, which deals with a number of topics to do with, if you like, super humans. And the principle of everyone to count as one, and you count as one, and no one for more than, is one of the things that I hope will be discussed. And it's particularly under pressure from the fact that intelligence has become enhanced intelligence, and so many may well say, those particularly based in San Francisco and other such places, that their enhanced intelligence may also be enhanced consciousness and enhanced moral worth, and therefore that they should count as more. I'm sure Maggie would want me to say no. We will quite. So that's one of the things we're going to hopefully talk about. Steve? Anyone else? Yes, okay, why not? Do you want me to stay at the front? Sure. We can chat. I'm used to the.
Do you notice something?
What?
What do you notice something?
Being sensible.
Something to say.
I don't
Honestly,
ask.
something else.
Right. I want to thank you for what you just spoke about. I think in a small way, this meeting today.
Yeah, this meeting today gives me hope that there's an opportunity to push back against what's been sold to us as this future world of AI, where basically AI now becomes a large language model. What I loved about being a COGS with Margaret Boden was the notion that AI was really about computational psychology, understanding people with the pain of computers. I think it's really important. The reason I was just going to mention, there's a book that I literally just got a copy of, The Reverse Centaur's Guide to AI, which you might be interested in, which talks about the risks of what happens when we become beholden to AI systems and issues. But anyway, I just want to thank you. I will follow your lead and continue to try to, in a small way, to continue the work supporting future. I took early retirement to become a computer science teacher. I spent my whole career working in AI. I think it's vitally important to help Generation Alpha, Generation Z have a true understanding of AI issues and try and help each generation to do so. Thank you. Can I just send? Yeah.
Oh, yes, you're in charge. Yes, of course. You can have a full seminar in the autumn where people can push back if they like, and they'll get pushed back against. Yeah, I mean, I think what's come out from a lot of these talks, but particularly that last one, is the thing that I keep thinking of with Maggie's thinking in the current climate is that the interest I have or always have had in AI is as a tool for understanding humans, not as an engineering project to make something which will enrich a few people. Yeah, that's an important aspect of Maggie's thought, I think. Okay, so